be done through the JAS reporting service, and that's because reporting is used to be able to help drive our business. It is one of the mechanisms that allows us to be able to take the data that we have in our many projects, whether that's work items or requirements or models or testing or whatever that project information is, and be able to then measure the information, report on it, and be able to then take those reports and be able to make a decision based on the output or what the report is displaying. So being able to have those types of measurements in place, those types of reports, allows us to help drive the business. And for those of you who are coming here today and saying, you know, I don't really have any reporting put in place today, we're missing some of the capabilities that would allow us to do that. And hopefully this is at least maybe one of those catalysts that gets your mind going, that brings you back to your project team and starts looking at how do we put the project in the right position, how do we get the data in the right order in order to start measuring it and being able to start then tracking it, being able to look at the reports that allow you to take and make those decisions. Some of those more best practice concepts we've covered in a previous session that we did last May. And so, again, today's is primarily focused more on the tool itself and what it can do as opposed to the best practice and the methodology of reporting. The slides and content will be made available to you, so don't feel like you're having to take screenshots and quick notes. They will be provided to you. What I'll be looking to do here is really provide you an overview and an update first off of the reporting, kind of a little bit of the strategy around JAS reporting service, and then we'll get into the 6.0 release immediately, going over the capabilities, the concepts. I'll show you a number of the kind of screenshots to be able to position the benefits and the value, the reason why we did a lot of these, provided a lot of these capabilities, and then we'll get into, I think, one of the more important things, an actual working scenario and demonstration to show you the capability, the service in action. And again, as you have questions and ideas that you want to discuss, please jot them down, or again, Eric is going to be monitoring the chat window here to the right. Okay, first off with, again, some of the strategy around the JAS reporting service. This is intended to be our next generation reporting solution and primarily targeted at really the mainstream user community, the mainstream operational reporting, if we can call it that. In the past, we've provided many capabilities around reporting, but have typically required the practitioner, the tester, whoever it is that's using the system, it's required them to be quite an expert in the area of reporting, sometimes in terms of having to build a query using SQL or having to go into the depths of the data model to be able to understand how they can generate that type of the query that they want. And because of that perceived complexity or the reality of the complexity, it has sometimes stumbled into what could be a bit of a brick wall or a bottleneck in organizations where only experts were able to produce reports that were really meaningful to the business and usable. And then again, around when I say the term bottleneck, again, if we only had a few experts in the organization that had that ability to create the reports, then that often hindered them as well in being able to then get the reports that they needed. You would have to submit your report to that expert. They would have a backlog of the reports they're trying to build up for the project team, for the dashboards that we have, and it might take a few days, a week, or whatever it took based on their time, and then be able to finally get that report. And we were trying to break away from some of these issues with the JAS reporting service. And so 12 months ago, in the 5.0 release, we introduced the JAS reporting service. This was a capability, as a service should be, to be able to be built into our products as an additional feature set, so to speak. So not requiring our existing customers to buy additional licenses and even, in many cases, even additional hardware. They would be able to put the JAS reporting service in place to get fresher data, better metrics, and be able to build those reports themselves, as we say, self-service reports, to be able to build them up and be able to display them on their own dashboard or a team-based dashboard. Now, when I say mainstream operational reporting, I'm talking about some of the concepts of being able to track, being able to measure and plan against information that you have within your existing project team. So if you're using products like Rational Team Concert, I can look at the number of work items that have been received, maybe over the last day, over the last week. I can be able to see which ones are high priority and separate those. I can drill into those and find out which are the high priority or critical ones and then be able to take a decision. So it's being able to get to, and again, that's just one scenario, but it's being able to get to that type of of information and then be able to act on that information that helps us drive the business. So again, there can be a long list of what you could classify or say as operational reporting, but it's effectively the reports that allow us to be able to operate our business, be able to deliver on our project, be able to meet the release schedule that we have and that we've set out for ourselves. Now, reports can be used and positioned in many different places, and the reporting service, as we have started to develop it and continue to develop it, expand on the places in which you can view, see, and work with that reporting data. Today, within the JAS reporting service, once the report has been built, it lives within our library and then allows you to be able to put that onto a dashboard, either personal or team. You can use the report within our report builder environment. You can export the report, and then in just a minute, I'll talk to you about one of our latest capabilities, and that is actually being able to embed the report into the product itself. And you'll see an example of this with Rational Team Concert's Quick Planner product. And this is just only an example of the way in which we'll be able to now present many of our reports moving forward for other products that adapt and start using JAS reporting service in the future. Now, today, JAS reporting service works with only our CLM tools. That's Rational Team Concert, Quality Manager, and the Doors Next Generation product. It was supported for all of the 5.x series in 2014, and then this year now in the 6.0 release and moving forward. The intention, again, strategically, is that it will expand both in capability and in support. So while today, as I said, we support the CLM tools only, we do plan in the future to move beyond that, to be able to support our other IBM tools and allow you to be able to do customization against the ETLs and be able to collect data from your own data sources. So look forward to that in the future. As I said, this is as what we consider to be our next generation reporting solution, and not only just being a mainstream operational tool, but also a comprehensive tool to allow you to be able to really attack the wide variety of types of reports that your organization is demanding today. Okay, let's get straight into the 6.0 release. So this came out literally 2 weeks ago with the 6.0 release. Hopefully, for those of you who follow our progress on jazz.net, you've had a chance to see some of the different milestone builds as they were being delivered throughout the beginning of 2015. Largely, we met all of our goals that we were aiming for within this release. The highlights for the release were to get in additional reports, additional out-of-the-box reports, and namely burn up and burn down reports to be able to track and show against the progress of a particular release. And these were delivered in a variety of different ways. One was the ability to be able to display burn down, burn up reports within a dashboard, and then also within the Quick Planner, as I mentioned a moment ago. And I'll show you a few screenshots of that, and again, we'll actually see some of these in a demonstration a little bit later on. But again, this expands the footprint of the out-of-the-box reports which we support. Today, with 6.0, we now support up to 33 out-of-the-box reports. And if you don't see one in the out-of-the-box report library, then again, this is where you would then go over to our report builder and be able to continue to build your own based on the type of report that you need for your organization. We also added in one of the highly anticipated features for calculated or aggregated reporting, and this is be able to roll up the numerical quantitative values and be able to then represent that within the report itself. It allows us to be able to start doing functions effectively against the data that you have within your project area. And this, again, in all these concepts are applied to all of the different CLM tools. So there's not a limitation on whether you're using Doors Next Generation or RTC. No matter what of those CLM products, the capabilities are identical across those tool sets, across the data that you're working in. We also added in this release an interactive way to be able to work with your report widgets. So once you actually had those reports displayed in your dashboard, we have called those reporting widgets, and that's because they're largely based on open services technology, so that allows you to be able to for anything that uses open social. That would literally allow you to be able to take that URL for the report and then apply that into that open social environment. So it's a standard, and it allows us to be able to use this more universally than just simply into a single tool application. Now, we have also introduced a technical preview, and this is for the, I think, more of the admins that are here joining today's conference. And this is around the configuration management capability that CLM 6.0 has provided. Now, CLM 6.0 has provided this as part of the GA product. Reporting was still needing to close on some of the mandatory reports. And so while we are in the process of doing that, we didn't want to stop progress, so we at least have provided the configuration-aware reporting in the release, but it is classified or displayed, and again, your administrator will see this when they go for the installation. It is classified as technology preview, meaning that it's not intended for production use yet. And largely, again, this is because there's just areas of configuration management projects that we can't report on quite yet. But it'll at least give those of you who are interested a little taster, an opportunity to be able to try it out. And again, as always, we encourage you to be willing to join in with us in our development release in order to help us out in improving the release itself and get us to a delivery within the next 1 to 2 releases. Lastly, and this is the bottom bullet, this was the repositioning of Jazz Reporting Service as the simplified and out-of-the-box reporting solution for CLM. So now, when you download RTC or any of the CLM products, again, the single application will provide you now with Jazz Reporting Service in that single installer. So now you don't have to download for installation package to be able to deliver on reporting. When your administrator goes to install the Jazz Team server with whatever application you're using, in that installer, you will see Jazz Reporting Service, and that will now make it easier to be able to bring that down. The footprint is much lighter, much easier, and now the configuration is part of the automated installation process. So it'll make it much simpler to be able to deploy report capability now for your teams as opposed to what we've had in the past. And this brings me to my note. Again, each of these points I'm going to go into in further detail, and you're going to see these in the actual demonstration. So if you feel like you've gotten something, this is just really the teaser. We'll get into it now and now kind of go into things in detail, some of the real reasons behind why we delivered these. The last note here is around our packaging change again. And for those of you who have been part of our journey with the CLM products, who have currently got them today, or maybe even over the past couple months, we have now stopped providing the package RRDI, which stands for Rational Reporting for Development Intelligence. So the package itself is no longer being offered as a bundle. And this is because, as I just mentioned a moment ago, is Jazz Reporting Service is now bundled or put directly into CLM. Again, this is part of our strategy to simplify. And while we're not providing the package of RRDI, the tools or the capabilities that we provided in it are still available. It's just that instead of having a nice ribbon-tied bow of a package for you to be able to deliver it, automate it, and install it, it will now require you to put the 3 components in place separately. So for those of you who are using RRDI today and you're not ready to go to Jazz Reporting Service, there is certainly a path forward for you. The technology, which is largely Cognos BI, that still is there, it's still available, and you do have an upgrade path. And I'll talk about that in just a moment in further detail. But that's just kind of one of my very brief note about the packaging changes here in CLM. For those of you who have gone out to jazz.net and you've been looking for that CLM RRDI 6.0 build, you will see some notes around our new Cognos connector and around Jazz Reporting Services being the reporting product now that we're positioning as the first product in which we're encouraging people to look at. Brief overview for architecture. This slide I really include more for the admins who are here on the call today, I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible. So now, while I've just given you the note about RRDI and its package change, we are continuing to deliver Insight. So Insight has had a release 1.1.1.7, and that release again came out 2 weeks ago and also supports CLM 6.0. So for those of you using Insight today, there's no changes there. Again, it's a fixed pack release, so I literally mean no changes. There's no additional functionality there that's been added. There's been a few platform updates and things like that, defect corrections as you would expect with a fixed pack. But the Insight release it still remains intact. It's still there. So this picture is to really show you how Jazz Reporting Service works and looks today. Again, largely Jazz Reporting Service is intended, as I've mentioned a moment ago, to report today against the CLM tools, so DOORS and G, RQM, and RTC. And it delivers its reports through a data warehouse. And this is done through a server-side technology called the Data Collection Component, represented here on the slide as DCC. And this, again, has been available since the 5.0 release 1 year ago, but is a whole new method of being able to collect data using our new Java-based ETL collection. It's a technology that allows us to be able to work in parallel streams, allowing us to be able to scale much higher and be able to report much quicker. So it means that the data in your data warehouse is fresher. It's more current. That means when you look at the reports, changes will be represented much faster. Some of our real examples we present at Interconnect and Innovate conferences have reported real times of around 15 to 20 minutes for ETL runs. So for those of you who have been in the RRDI world or the Insight world, that number will mean something to you, because I imagine today with the older Java ETL collection technology, it probably takes hours, if not even some of you on the extreme end of up to even 24 hours to be able to run ETL collection, meaning that your data is only current maybe every 24 hours. Well, with DCC, if you don't do anything, I would encourage you to upgrade and take a look at this as the new method of being able to populate data for your data warehouse. Now, if you're using RRDI reports today, we have introduced Jazz Reporting Service as a iterative strategy, not a revolutionary strategy, meaning that I can actually put Jazz Reporting Service and Insight on the same server. Obviously not collecting against the same data sources. The data in the data warehouse and that schema is still the same. So this would be where if you have existing reports that you built in Insight or RRDI, and they're, again, based in SQL, then this is where you would be able to carry on using those reports, reporting against the data in the data warehouse, but the data collected into the data warehouse could be done through the data collection component. So immediately I can give you a very good reason for upgrading and going to the Jazz Reporting Service with the data collection component, because it's much more performant in the method in which it collects this data. And again, we've got some very good customer examples who have presented at these public conferences around this particular area. Now, again, for any data in the data warehouse, as you'll see here, Jazz Reporting Service and the report builder, the out-of-the-box BERT reports that come with RTC and RQM, or the existing Cognos reports that I mentioned through Insight or through RDI. Those can all use the same data in the data warehouse. So that, again, allows us to be able to iteratively introduce Jazz Reporting Service and not throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. We can still take what you've had in terms of investment in reporting. We can add some of the new with the old and be able to get you to a better place in some of these different areas. Again, Jazz Reporting Service has been introduced, as per my last slide, has been introduced to be able to provide reporting to the masses. So for those who were not SQL script writers or query writers in the previous world, Jazz Reporting Service introduces the user interface, which more easily can help that practitioner build the report that they want. And again, so if you're able to introduce Jazz Reporting Service, even if you've got some of the existing reporting technologies today, like RDI or Insight, then this could be an opportunity for them to be able to create their own reports while still using your existing reports. The last piece, which I'll speak to, is again the gray box here towards the top, and this is speaking back to that configuration management note that I had on the last slide for configuration-aware reporting. So we have introduced another server-side technology in this release. I'll show you in a minute a screenshot from the installation guide, and it will show you how these technologies actually show up. So although this picture might be slightly complex, it really isn't. When you get into the installation, there's really three options that you can install with the Jazz Reporting Service: LQE, Data Collection Component, and the Jazz Report Builder, the Jazz Reporting Service Report Builder. Now, the top one, again, is Technology Preview. Although it can be put onto evaluation servers or demonstration servers, we're not supporting it in production yet. It's really more of a taster for you to be able to see what we're doing with this technology. I provided this slide to give you an example of the way in which, somewhat in the way in which we develop, but also to give you an understanding for the overall use cases that we are trying to achieve with the release itself. So instead of just talking about features, I want to talk to you about the value of what we're trying to deliver here. So what the actual, the end practitioner is trying to get done in their day job. So one of our hills, or use cases, so to speak, is so that a Scrum Master can be able to streamline a backlog that they are working on, to be able to groom it, be able to manage it, and be able to do release planning based on the reporting information that they're getting. They're able to track the information, and then again, as I said a moment ago, be able to take a business decision based on that information to be able to add additional scope, be able to remove scope if they've overcommitted, and be able to, again, kind of see how they're progressing throughout the release. And that was our overall goal. And one of the ways in which we tried to achieve that goal is by delivering out of the box burn up and burn down reports, as well as some additional operational reports, to be able to help that Scrum Master answer that question, be able to achieve that goal. Our second goal here, or Hill 2, was around allowing our project manager to be able to get a better effort estimation as they're looking across the life cycle, be able to do not just simple single project, but multi-project reports, and be able to then share that information onto their dashboard. And not just their dashboard, but the team's dashboard. And some of that, again, is around the operational reporting that you would expect to see in a project plan. And we focused on this in the 6.0 release, and being able to do on-demand filtering changes directly through the report widgets on the dashboard, and then also in the additional out-of-the-box reports, and the ability to do calculated aggregation roll-ups against numerical data within the report. So there's a number of different areas, as well as, of course, usability. I've said a lot about features and functionality, but there's also usability changes. And for those of you who have been part of our JAWS reporting service journey and have participated in other sessions or have already looked at JAWS reporting service, you'll probably immediately recognize a few of the usability changes that we have made in this release. The release, JAWS reporting service, is developed under a principle called design thinking, that type of methodology, and it effectively means that we have a lot of customer interaction. It's a customer design tool. We have a lot of customer one-on-one sessions, and sessions in which customers literally are driving the project in order to complete some of these use cases, like the use cases I'm showing you here in this slide. The last hill, I think I've already spoken to, and I'm not going to spend much more time on, but this is around our configuration management, configuration aware reporting. And again, I think for time, I'll kind of just quickly jump over it. You can read it if you're interested. It is technology preview today, but overall, again, we're still focusing on being able to deliver, and this is one of our main capabilities. Okay, let's get into some of the reasons and the whys and the hows as to why we've delivered some of the capabilities that we've done. Again, for me as a product manager, I'm interested in making sure that there's real value in the release. I don't want a function or a feature to be able to, to be just packaged in the box if it's just going to be adding clunkiness or additional, functionality for no reason. So I really want to make sure that there's a very good outside-in approach as to why we've delivered this. And again, one of the first ones was additional out-of-the-box reports. And you'll see some changes in the out-of-the-box reports in terms of being able to take those out-of-the-box reports and being able to customize these. So you can take anything that we have produced, and you'll actually see a category that we've provided that allows you to be able to use the ready-to-copy or ready-to-use report, and be able to then augment and iterate on those and be able to then create versions of your own. This is my intention here is, again, so that you can go into our report library, grab something that looks close to what you want, and be able to then quickly, with a few tweaks or maybe a few changes, maybe a few additional conditions, create your own version. So I want to cut the amount of time it takes you to be able to get that report to your dashboard, and then again immediately be able to get that report into your development process, so that when when your team gets together for the daily Scrum call or for the weekly project management meeting, you can literally use that dashboard as a mechanism to show you what the status is for things, and then you can take action based on what you're seeing. So if you see, for instance, that the defects are ticking up higher than you would like them, and you can immediately drill into those, and then start assigning those out to different development managers on the call in order to start cracking down on them. The burn down reports, again, I think the overall value for those for me was, again, being able to track the overall progress of the release, being able to show us how much work has been completed as we go through the project. And again, if we see that it's starting to go in a direction that is not expected, then I can then quickly kind of jump into the data underneath to be able to see what's happening over time. We've largely delivered on the ability to do burn up or burn down reports based on the total items, by hours, or by story points. So there's some already good capability there that allows you to be able to use those reports to your to your team. So if you're used to using those in the past, I'd encourage you to do that. To take a look at these. If you've not used them before, again, this is about being able to help us with the velocity, being able to help us show how well we're delivering on the capability that we've set out to deliver. I'm not going to show this in the demonstration, so this is much I'll send on this. Again, not only are the burn down and burn up reports displayed in our report library as out-of-the-box reports, but we've also put them into RTC's Quick Planner. So if you've started using Quick Planner since 5.02, look forward to these reports being there in 6.0, and they're displayed directly there in the Quick Planner UI. This is about us being able to take reports right into the tool, right where you would be able to use them, be able to then take an action on them. So again, in that Quick Planner dashboard, then if you're seeing that the particular number of hours that you're displaying against isn't going in the right direction, then I can quickly jump back in to the iteration and be able to then tweak that plan in order to be able to get it into a better position as you continue to move forward. In Quick Planner, there's also some predictive analytics in that, and being able to kind of show you the overall projection for based on how it should pan out based on the work items you have currently in that query. So again, look for that to be able to help you with your planning and tracking. Aggregated summary reports, if this doesn't already speak for itself, again, the overall value for this is really taking us into a place where we can start doing quantitative or functional calculation with the data that we have. And with this release, we focused again out of the box and being able to do average value, total count of work items or requirement artifacts or whatever that is, the maximum and minimum values, and then the sum total of the work items or the artifacts that you're looking at. So again, this means that I can go in, I can select a single project or multi-project. I can find out the total number of work items that we currently have assigned to a particular iteration, so I can get that overall scope. I can I can get I can aggregate against a certain maybe story, the current number of the value in which I'm using to be able to track the cost, for instance, and be able to see the overall effort that I'm expending on a particular release. So this is the first step in being able to now allow you to be able to build in your own function. Now, if you don't feel like, again, the out-of-the-box function is strong enough for you quite yet, there is an advanced area. Since 5.02, we have had an advanced query editor. I'll briefly point to this in the demonstration, but the query editor will allow you to be able to take any of the existing reports and then add to them or remove from them. So there's additional concepts, of course, that for those of you who are used to going to that level in your function design can certainly go into. Okay, I believe this is the last slide, and then we'll get into a demonstration. You can see how this works. We've also, as I said, we've added in a filter, interactive runtime filter editor that allows you to now interact and engage with the report directly in the dashboard. So it allows me to be able to modify the values, work with the values, and then save the report. So instead of having to jump from your dashboard over into the JAWS reporting service, I can modify the existing report directly in the dashboard, interact with it, engage with it, and then save it if I want to. It does save for the entire report. So again, if I'm working against a team dashboard and I see that report widget. Now we do have at least the abilities to prevent people from being able to edit or create reports. So we do have a separation for permissions there. So if you're wanting to just kind of keep this locked out and only have a team-based dashboard that only you control, yes, you can do that. Lastly, and that is the ability to now export, now not just to Rational Publishing Engine as displayed here, but we've also included two graphical formats. So if you have graphical-based reports in pie charts or stack bar charts, etc., I can export those in graphical format. Now, Publishing Engine, this is our one of our first crossover experiences. So now we can take any operational report from JAWS Reporting Service and we can export into the Publishing Engine, PDF or document. And again, I think from a traceability point of view, this is a big win for us. You know, many people have liked the way Publishing Engine delivers on traceability reports, but largely the template, the way that it's designed to do the traceability report, is not as flexible. Again, you know, the template has to be customized based on the traceability, whereas JAWS Reporting Service is quite quick and easy to be able to, you know, to change or modify a traceability report. And so with that ad hoc trace report, I can now send that out to a PDF and then give a good compliance matrix based on how we are traced from, you know, work item to requirement or to test case, etc. Now, one more word about packaging, and that is, again, just to, you know, this is my screenshot to show you, again, how simple this is. So this is just a screenshot of your CLM installer here on the bottom right-hand side. And you'll see that in the installation menu that you now have really just one option. That's the JAWS Reporting Service. Underneath that, your administrator will be able to select what type of server technology they use. Again, the data warehouse is the data collection component. We have in Technology Preview provided the lifecycle query engine. The administrator will get a message about this in terms of its technology preview status, and then the report builder, which is basically the UI. Now, as I said earlier in the introduction screen, we have changed the packaging for RRDI. For customers who still want to use the pre-existing technology that was provided in that package, then they will have to move to Cognos BI, which was, again, packaged as part of RRDI. Cognos BI will be made available to them. They will have to install that separately. They will have to install at least JRS to put the data collection component in place, and then they would put on what what you'll see on JAWS.net is called the ALM Cognos connector. This was the wrapper that we had put around Cognos inside of RRDI. So there's a few manual steps that these three components will have to be installed separately. So here's kind of our migration path. So you'll need to convert RRDI and take those reports, the reports that you have. You will put the Cognos piece in place. You'll put JRS and DCC in place. Put the Cognos connector, and then import or bring in your existing reports, and you'll be up and running again. So it's a little bit more manual. But again, as we are starting to try and position now JAWS Reporting Service as being the first option for reporting, this is, again, just kind of the natural change that we are presenting as part of this release. As per my previous note, there's been no change to Rational Insight. We had a release as 1.1.1.7. That is now available to you. So those of you who have and own that product, you are certainly entitled to it and available to upgrade to it. It supports the CLM 6.0 release and certainly all of the reports that you have. Okay, let's get into this and see this in action. I think I've talked a little bit more than I had anticipated. So we're now going to move over to the JAWS Reporting Service. And again, I'm only going to primarily focus today on the newest features of 6.0. So I'm going to make some assumptions that you've seen this in the past. JAWS Reporting Service has been introduced as a sibling service within the JAWS team server. And when I say sibling service, that means that literally it will be found alongside the other products. So if you look at, for instance, just the menu here, it gives you an example of how the report builder, as you see here, is presented directly alongside Rational Quality Manager, Rational Team Concert, and the DOORS Next Generation product. And so this is the report builder. The name did change just a little bit for those of you who were using this in 5.02. It was actually called JAWS Report Service here. We've now just formalized that now to be just the report builder. So slight change there, again, just part of usability. Also, if you're going to the reporting menu or any of the other report options in any of the other CLM tools, then this will, again, take you to the JAWS Report Service area. Just a few of the examples of reports that I built and put onto my dashboard, and some of the reports that we do support today. So pie charts is one example. One of the capabilities that we provided, again, kind of a usability function in the 6.0 release, is being able to drill into the report. So, if I see any of my graphical reports and I want to see the specific work items that are underneath it, this is a work item status report showing me the normal, the current work items that are under normal status. I can click and drill into that report, and then it then displays the actual work items underneath it. So there was 368. This gives me the, again, the work item-based report. I can see the current values of those reports. They are OSLC-based, meaning that I can hover over any of these, and it then shows me the further detail underneath that work item here in the rich hover display. logging in there. Sure I have all my logins in place. Hopefully you're familiar with Hover, so that's hopefully not a new thing. Back over to the dashboard. I've introduced as well also one of the out-of-the-box BERT reports, just to show you an example of how BERT reports can live on the same dashboard. As I said, this is an iterative approach to be able to introduce JAWS reporting service, not a revolutionary one. So this gives me the option to be able to display the, this is just the performance health check that comes out of the box. It's looking across the project within RTC, and it will then display the values based on its, on the current health check for those reports here in the same dashboard. So the reports can exist on that dashboard without interfering with other pre-existing reports that you may have created. Again, additional reports that we have, just one of the the defect backlogs that I've set up, again using live data from jazz.net. This is a table-based report. Here's a stack bar report that I put in place to show me the age of work items in one of my particular projects, so I can see how many of these particular work items are currently sitting in a certain range of us actually looking at them and taking action or completing and closing on them. So that helps me to be able to kind of understand the progress that we're making over a 180-day period, okay, kind of looking out over half a year time frame. Traceability reports, this was there since 502, so nothing new here, but again, just be able to show a drill down, being able to show a one or one-to-many type example of how we show a cross-project against work items being traced to other items within the database itself. So this is showing me the particular work item here traced to a work item or a test item over in Rational Quality Manager. Now, any of these reports can be displayed in a again, back over in the report builder. This is just one place in which you would interact or engage with them. If you want to use any of the reports from the library, just like you've done in the past, you would go to the widget catalog, which is there at the top of your dashboard in the CLM tool of your choice. And you would select on the JAWS reporting service or the report builder. And once you've done that, that would then show you the specific reports that you or your team have created. Now these are the public-based reports, and so I see here all of those that have been organized by my team, some of them that have been categorized. Here are the ones specifically to myself, categorized under the tag Jared. So I'll select on those, and I see some of the reports that I've been particularly working with based around time series, based on status. And to add any of those particular reports, then I would just say add widget, and then that report is then thrown into my dashboard. So as quick as that, you know, I can get reports from the catalog directly into the dashboard. Now, if there's something that I wanted to use from the out-of-the-box reports, as I mentioned in the slide set, any of the ready-to-copy or ready-to-use reports are the ones in which we would be able to provide to you. So you see example here of some of the burn down reports by story points or by work item count or burn up by hours. So there's 33 out-of-the-box reports which you can use today that we provide to you. These are largely focused around Agile or Scrum-based methods. So again, we would encourage you to take a look at some of those. If you want to use any of these for your own kind of copies, and this is where we provided this new category, ready to copy. So select on those, and any of these can be selected, and you could actually go back to the report builder and then modify them or use them for your own uses. Eventually, all of the out-of-the-box reports will fall under this category, and all of them will be ready to copy or reuse. Now, if any report in the dashboard, if you want to go into further detail in that report, then this is where we can open up the new window here. So I'm going to go ahead and open this in a new tab and take this report. It was the graphical report that I showed you a moment ago, and we'll open it up in the JAWS Reporting Service Report Builder. And this takes you into the new user interface that was introduced for the JAWS Report Service. You'll notice that this user interface looks very similar to some of our newest tools, namely the IBM Bluemix environment, and as well as some of the latest UI changes and improvements that we've made in the RTC Quick Planner. So this is using our latest standard. It looks slightly different than the JAWS reporting service, but trust me, it is part of the new tool set. It is a sibling as part of the JAWS reporting, part of the JAWS team server area. And to be able to interact between the report builder, again, there's the top menu that allows me to be able to jump here or jump directly back over to your JAWS dashboard. This is the report that I showed you from the dashboard itself, and I just wanted to look at it in a bigger form. I can take this and again continue to drill into any of these particular areas. So as I showed you in the dashboard, just clicking on any of these, it allows me to be able be able to load in the artifacts underneath it. Here's the 238 work item artifacts, which were classified into the medium priority. So I can switch back and forth very quickly between graphical or a table-based report. Now, as an export option, as I mentioned in the slides, we've also now introduced in 6.0 the ability to export to a PGN or an SVG format. So these reports can now be taken out, so you can take the reports and put them onto, again, onto maybe a PowerPoint slide or to some other type of environment in a graphical method. We have had Microsoft Excel as an export option since 5.01 actually, so that's still there, and that's still available for your use. And the new addition for this, as I mentioned earlier, is the Rational Publishing Engine product. For those of you who are able to stick around for the session next hour, we'll be going more into the Rational Publishing Engine capabilities. But this is our first crossover at Jazz Reporting Service supporting Publishing Engine, and vice versa on the other side. Rational Publishing Engine, as you'll see with the latest release, now looks a lot like Jazz Reporting Service and can also report from data from a Jazz Reporting Service data warehouse. So we've got some nice touch points bringing these products together. Now, if you don't see the report that you want in our library, again, the library, as you saw it a second ago, let me just look back at the ready-to-use reports here, just to kind of show you what could be done with some of these. So if you see any of these particular example reports that you want to use, you can view them or you can duplicate them. They can also be edited here, so if you want to remove and delete reports, you can do that. You certainly have further options in order to work with the reports through the library itself. Any of the reports that you want to take, and again, the ready-to-copy ones, and you want to then create your own versions of those, this is where you could then go in and duplicate these and then augment it, add new conditions to it if you wanted to be able to modify. Again, just some of those that are here, I can't read all of them here based on time, but incomplete stories, release status for stories, story status by iteration. Again, some of the best practice reports that we have had you as customers raise to us as being mandatory as part of the package. If you don't see the report that you want here out of the box, then this is where we would encourage you to go to our report builder. And again, being a very simple interface, you only have two options between the use or the build option. Being able to build your own reports shows you all of the artifacts that you have within, again, within your data warehouse that you can report on. And as I said in the introduction, we support the CLM tools for Team Concert, Quality Manager, or Doors Next Generation. So if I wanted to build a work item report, for instance, that allows me to be able to show how many work items I have within my particular project area, I would select on work item. Notice that I can select a specific type of work item, so we support both out-of-the-box and custom. You can choose between data warehouses if you have multiple data warehouses. And for those of you looking at the Lifecycle Query Engine, that LQE Tech Preview product, you'll also be able to select on that here if you put that onto your demo server or your evaluation server. When you're ready to move forward, go and select on Continue. Traceability was introduced in 5.02, so I'm going to skip over that here for today, but of course for those of you who want traceability reports, that is certainly there. Your scope, again, this is where you would set the individual single project or multi-project for your report. So I'm going to select the multi-project report. We've got tens upon tens of, I think we've got close to about 50 projects here, but I'll select on 3 of them. And then you set the conditions. And the conditions, again, bring you into the attributes, either out of the box or custom type attributes that you may have. A simple, very useful report would be based around, for instance, the priority values that we have within the report. We'll keep some of our options open just to show you how some of these work. But again, if I'm specifically honing in on any of these particular conditions that I can say any of or is any of, or again, any of the conditions that would be set appropriately, we'll go ahead and add that into our condition set, and then maybe lastly add in the status, which is another good one. Severity, that's another really good one. And again, I'll just select all, just again kind of show you the overall values. I'm not gonna limit any of this, again, just to kind of show you how this is setting up really quickly. Go ahead and add and close. Conditions can further be set within the release in order to help us understand what particular values that we may be using. So if we wanted to be able to set a particular Boolean operator, such as or and, those can also be put into the again into the conditions that we've set. So the report is quite, again, quite robust in what you can add into it. And set my priority. Sorry for those of you, I had to reset that. I had to refresh really quickly. And then once we've got our values set up, again, the Boolean operator as you would want to set that, we can go into our formatting results area. One nice thing, again, we've had a preview window that's available. So to make sure that we're actually building the report appropriately, we can select on preview. And this returns against the values that we're setting up. We've set some nice little things. Again, some of these are just simple UI changes, but now displaying the project where the data is coming from, work item ID automatically. And further formatting can be certainly done here in the formatting results area. So I'll go ahead and select on format results. We can add in additional values or additional columns, such as perhaps a particular owner of the work item that we're looking at, which is again kind of another popular value or item to have. Now, no condition is being set up here, so this is just simply adding in columns that we may want to display. I can change the sort order, etc. And this is also where we've introduced the calculated column value. So if we wanted to be able to do any of the maximums, mins, or any kind of sum of values, I'm going to do just a simple count number of artifacts as part of this. We'll set it by ID. I don't have time here today to really go into further details, but you can start for those of you who are Excel champions, I'm sure you'll be interested to jump in here and start being able to push the limits here where you can go. We'll go ahead and add and close that as the last column, and then display our report once again. Now, I mentioned earlier on we have had an advanced area, and I'm just going to show it to you briefly and then move on because we don't have time. But the advanced option is down here at the bottom that does actually show you the query that we've been building up in the background. So if you want to come in here, if you're that advanced person that wants to edit and start modifying the query, you can do that. Keep in mind, though, once you start editing the query and tweaking it or adding in functionality or features or concepts, especially to the aggregation on your own, you are kind of breaking it away from the UI. So that's the warning message that it gave me a moment ago. Do a quick refresh, and again, you kind of see the owner value has now come in and the total count has come in here. And we'll go ahead and save this. Demo report, and using the pre-existing tag of myself, we've then created the report and we've then saved it within the matter of just a few minutes. Again, quite quick and an easy way of being able to get that. Let's run the report, and then that gives us, compared to that very limited view that I showed you a moment ago, this thing gives us the unrestricted view. Now remember and keep in mind that I didn't restrict any of the status or priority values, so this shows you that everything's kind of showing up here now. But I could, of course, quickly jump back in. If I see that this is going the right direction, it's showing me the right count that I want, but it's not quite the way that I want it yet, then I can continue to tweak it further. The results can, of course, be displayed in graphical formats, and again, the formats haven't largely changed. We have expanded on the options to display our bar charts, our pie charts with slightly bigger numbering and lettering. So there are ways in which to be able to get better usability behind these reports. Here's just a simple report change over into priority. But what I want to do now is, now that I've created this report based on the priority and status, I'm now going to go back to my dashboard and put it into the dashboard. That'll be kind of the end of my demonstration. So once again, add my widget. Let me refresh against the server there just to make sure I pick up that report. Go to the report builder. To my name.
Jared, I noticed you didn't make it public. I think you saved it accessible only to you, so you need that.
Thank you very much. That's my own mistake. Could have Eric watching me.
Gotten caught by that myself.
Thank you very much. Okay, yeah, so there is that difference between public and private. Thank you. Even the best of us can get caught out. So make that public, save it.
Jared, once it's public, can everybody see it? Is there any sort of ACLs on those?
Well, today, again, it would, the private ones would only be displayed to myself. The public ones would be displayed to everyone on the team. We do plan to do further, being able to kind of limit them based on project or team, that kind of thing. But that, that will be a concept still to be coming. Okay. I'm feeling the time pressure here to wrap up. I know
if we go over a couple minutes, then that's okay. My next call is in a half hour, so we're.
Okay, thank you.
I got a little time.
There's my demo report, and I saved it with the in the graphical format, so we're going to get it in a graphical version in the end. But there we go. We've added it in. There's the report. Again, with this new runtime filter option, as you'll see here, even though I accidentally did save it as a graphical report, I can quickly switch it back to the table version, and which is the way I originally had it there. That 969 work items. And again, I can limit the amount that's being displayed, and the runtime filter allows me to then interact with it directly here in the report UI, in the dashboard UI. So I don't have to actually go back over to the report builder. I can come over here and change out any of the values that I want to. So we can
and those values get saved. Like you could set some project names or iteration names, and will those get saved with the report?
Yes.
When I'm running next time?
It's using the ones that I originally put into the report definition, and we can preview them or save them. Again, if you use save them, then that will be for everyone. So they're quickly modifying the report then. I've removed everything but just the high. So instead of seeing 996, it's showing me the, I could have just hovered over that bar, but anyway, let me switch back over to the table. And that shows me the 239 high work items as per the query.
All right, Jared. That was a fantastic presentation, and to respect everyone's time on the phone, we are 2 minutes over. So there were a few questions sent in. I will go over those with Jared, and we will get back to each of you guys individually and answer all the questions you typed into the question board. Thank you very much for that. And as I said, I'm going to respect your time. Thank you very much for attending today's webinar. We will be in contact and in touch with all the people who registered for the session, both the people who registered and the people who attended. And we'll provide a link to download the slides that were presented, and as well as a recording. I recorded the session, so you can go back and replay it if you want to kind of go over it slowly and see what Jared did. If you have any more questions or need assistance with JRS 6.0, RDI migration, Insight deployment, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm at elarsen, E-L-A-R-S-E-N, at ironsidegroup.com. And I think that email address will be up on the website when we get in touch with you. Again, once again, I thank you very much for attending, and it's 3 minutes after the hour, so I'm going to have to wrap this up. Jared, why don't you stay on the line for a minute, and I'll kind of wrap up with you.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Right. Yep. Thank you, guys.